Street Fighter 2, Resident Evil, and Mega Man. These games defined your childhood, all thanks to Capcom. But did you know that this company made more games that are equally good, just not as famous? Now for you, I've made a list of 15 such underrated games, so check it out. Quiz Nanairo Dreams, 1996. When I first stumbled across Quiz Nanairo Dreams, I was genuinely confused. It's a hybrid of a dating simulator, a board game, and a quiz show. No, this isn't your average quiz night at a local bar. This is Quiz Nanairo Dreams, and here we are, a young protagonist who must save the town of Nanairo by winning a board game style race while answering questions to progress. This concept had almost no popularity in the West, but it was very famous in Japanese arcade. Instead of throwing punches, we select answers under a strict time limit. On a call of a dice roll, then we are landed on different types of quiz categories. If you get a question wrong, you lose health. Get it right, and you move closer to a date or a boss encounter. The boss difficulty is surprisingly high because the questions can range from 90s pop culture to high-level science. You don't know about it, mostly because of the language barrier and the niche appeal of quiz games. So, I wish there was an English version that didn't require a PhD in 90s Japanese television to win. Progear, 2001. Progear is what happens when Capcom collaborates with Cave, another game development company. It's a side-scrolling shooting game set in a world where a group of children pilot planes to overthrow a council of sages. You have a standard shot and a fighter mode that slows your movement for precision, while your gunner locks onto targets. Hey, just like that slide and shoot in Max Payne game. We can choose between 2 different pilots and 3 gunners. The reason it's overlooked is likely its late release on the CPS2 hardware, when 3D games were already dominating the market. I personally find the scoring system a bit weird, but the art is so good, I don't even care when I die. And hey, keep an eye out for the moment when you destroy a large enemy, and the screen fills with thousands of gold jewelry pieces instead of point. Very satisfying. Mars Matrix, Hyper Solid Shooting, 2000. Mars Matrix is a vertical scrolling shooter that feels more aggressive than almost anything else on the CPS2 system. It takes it to a colonized Mars where a rebel faction has gone rogue. The gameplay is unique because it uses a single button control scheme. Tapping, holding, or releasing the button triggers different attacks, like the mosquito nest that creates a gravity hole to suck in enemy bullets. One thing that bugs me is how cluttered the screen gets. It's very easy to lose track of your tiny hitbox in the chaos, so, I guess this game was forgotten because it was punishingly difficult.
Level up.
Dimahoo, 2000. Check out this vertical shooter game. Dimahoo, also known as Great Mahou Daisaksen in Japan, is a brilliant mix of high fantasy and high-tech weaponry. We get a roster of fantasy-inspired pilots, including a warrior, a sorcerer, and a dragon, each flying a stylized aircraft. The strategy comes from managing your treasure collection, which levels up your character like an RPG. It's a masterpiece with its RPG-like mechanics that were a bit too complex for the insert coin and play arcade crowd. Look for the boss Goro. The way its many limbs move independently with smooth, hand-drawn animation is staggering. Tech Romancer, 1998. If you love giant robots, Tech Romancer is a crime to ignore. This one's for you, mecha anime fans. Set in a future where giant robots defend humanity, you play as various pilots, each representing a different trope, from the 70s super robot to the 90s real robot. It's a 3D fighting game, but it plays on a 2D plane with limited 3D movement, giving it a cinematic grand scale. The combat is heavy and impact. You have standard attacks, long-range missiles, and specialized armor gauges that, if broken, leave your robot vulnerable. Movement feels appropriately clunky in a good way, conveying the massive weight of these machines. You can even pick up buildings or trees to use as weapons. I do think the 3D models haven't aged as gracefully as Capcom's 2D sprites, but the style is good enough. (1944) The Loop Master. 2000. The 1942 series is famous, but 1944 The Loop Master is the masterpiece of the franchise. It's a reimagining of the classic World War II shooter, updated with the visuals of the early 2000s. I think this one felt less like a video game and relied more on historical accuracy than it needed to. Like its predecessors, it was designed for a standard horizontal monitor, giving it a much wider field of view. There have been many games with World War themes, and this is one of them. Naval battles, mountainous regions, and fortified islands, you have it all. By 2000, the World War II shooter felt old compared to the flashy sci-fi shooters of the time. This was also the time when Star Wars were doing well enough with the kids and adults of all ages. Battle Circuit, 1997. I love the comic book aesthetic here, but man, this is the weirdest beat-em-up game Capcom ever made, by far. There are 5 bounty hunters, including a guy in a trench coat with ice powers, a pink ostrich, and an alien plant, and we're one of them. Moving from neon-lit cities to strange alien landscapes, you won't get bored with the level. There's even an Elvis impersonating mad scientist over here. Now, I have 2 problems with Battle Circuit. Firstly, the screen can get busy with 5 players and dozens of enemies, so, it's easy to lose your character. Secondly, they never made a home port, which means you couldn't play it anywhere else except a proper arcade or a game parlor, so their downfall was inevitable. Cannon Spy, 2000. This one's a crossover fest. Cammy from Street Fighter, Mega Man, or Sir Arthur from Ghosts and Goblins, you can be anything you want. While the levels are short and the action is tight, the bosses are the highlight for me because they are the dark versions of other Capcom characters or massive mechanical tank. Bosses are the focus. They're difficult, aggressive, and often take up half the screen. I just wish the game was longer. You can beat the whole thing in about 20 minutes and you're done. That's shorter than most episodes of a Netflix rom-com series these days. Armored Warriors, 1994. Before Cyberbots, there were Armored Warriors. The twist here is the parts system. When you destroy an enemy mech, you can rip off its arm, legs, or weapons and attach them to your own robot in real time. And I should mention that the sprites are huge. You can even combine with other players to form one giant super mecha for a limited time. Now, it's obvious that the mech brawler genre was always a bit of a niche compared to fantasy or street fighting brawlers, and this led to its low popularity. And I found one very weird thing about this game. Sometimes the parts you pick up can actually be worse than what you had. How frustrating if you're in the middle of a battle and this happened. Gamer rage is real, guys. Echo Fighters, 1994. Echo Fighters is a horizontal shooter with a pro-environment message where we have 2 pilots in a small ship equipped with a rotating gun arm. The gameplay revolves around your gun pod, which you can rotate 360 degrees around your ship. This allows you to fire in any direction while moving, which is cool because enemies attack from every angle. A very responsive game, I must add. I like how the game is vibrant, as if it's a play straight out of a Studio Ghibli film. VARth, Operation Thunderstorm, 1992. Once again, a pilot game with fast-paced action and even faster combat. But what caught my eye are the details and the variety of levels we can get in this arcade game, especially the stages that take place inside enemy cruiser. Keeping in mind that the boss difficulty is high, It was a very traditional shooter game, in an era where gamers were looking for more gimmicks. I found the soundtrack to be a bit repetitive though, but the gameplay is solid enough to ignore it. Free Wonders, 1991. One game? Nope. This one's actually 3 games in one. A run and gun called Midnight Wanderers, a side-scrolling shooter called Chariot, and a puzzle game called Don't Pull. In the first two, we play as Lou and Siva, 2 adventurous roosters on a quest to save their land from a demon. The run and gun gameplay is very similar to another game, Ghouls and Goat, but with more fluid movement and a brighter aesthetic. Chariot uses the same characters, but in a flying shooter format. Lastly, Don't Pull is a fun, block-pushing puzzle game. The art style is what makes this game legendary. It has a hand-drawn look that is rare for Capcom. I feel that Don't Pull feels a bit out of place compared to the high-octane action of the other 2 games, and overall, the game was destined to get obsolete, as, there was no home port. And being a multi-game, it was expensive for arcade owners to manage. Magic Sword Heroic Fantasy, 1990. Magic Sword is a side-scrolling action game where you climb a tower to defeat the Dark Lord Draw. Combat is simple but satisfying. You have a sword that gets more powerful the longer you go without attack. It's forgotten because it was eventually eclipsed by Capcom's licensed brawlers like, Dungeons and Dragons. One thing I don't like is how easily your allies die. It's heartbreaking to lose a high-level wizard to a stray projectile. Paniki's, 1994. Paniki's is a puzzle game developed by Compile and published by Capcom. We can play as various cute characters in a world made of panikis, slimy blobs that need to be cleared from the screen. Pretty standard stuff. The twist is that you need to connect 2 star blocks of the same color to clear all the connected blobs between them. This allows for a screen clearing combo. There isn't a great change as we move up in levels, only the background art changes as we progress through the map. The difficulty comes from the AI. It becomes inhumanly fast in later stages. My reaction to this game is always, why isn't this as famous as Tetris? Because honestly, it's incredibly polished and delightful to play, but can we really blame it for not being popular? Nah. Because the market was absolutely crushed by Puyo Puyo and Tetris at the time. Ring of Destruction, Slam Masters 2, 1994. While the first Slam Masters was a wrestling game with a beat-em-up feel, Ring of Destruction turned the series into a full-blown 2D fighting game. It features characters designed by the legendary Tetsuo Hara, creator first of the North Star. I definitely missed the free-roaming ring of the first game, but the tighter combat here is technically superior. In my eyes, it'll always be underrated because it was released right when Street Fighter Alpha was taking off. Bad timing strikes again. Cherry on top, everyone was moving toward 3D fighters like Tekken. No place for old 2D games anymore. Marvelous Verdict. I honestly think these games represent a pinnacle of 2D artistry that we just don't see anymore. They were born from a time when Capcom was willing to experiment with every genre imaginable, and even their failures were gorgeous to look at. Which one is your favorite from the list? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you on the next video.